Twista brings it home though, manages to get it. Now there's going to be the slow siege down. They're using the Tarek ultimate. They got 2.5 seconds to cut through the base, and it looks like it may just be enough time. But suddenly the fight is starting to break out. They're looking for a chance to bring this one back. Betsy's in the middle of everybody, and he's not going to get taken down quite yet. Sheriff wants to redeem himself. Selfie pushing in. Ruin going to get down and straight in. Targus wants to bring it home. I don't know if he can. Are you kidding me? Who is going to end the game? Targus wants to bring it in. Ruin goes down. What is this? Oh my God! H2k, that is fucking beautiful. Selfie, one man. Take your hands off the keyboard, bud. You don't even need it. You bring it home. H2k!
It was all but done. Giants had the Nexus in their sights. It was exposed.
Fantastic stuff. We always want to run that again if H2k plays, and we'll see them right now because H2k is up on stage for the rematch versus Giants. I love also that we played that clip that way. I'm just going to say it.
It's the best caster call we have had.
Yeah, it's right back in the moment. But a lot has changed. These teams are now back on the Rift. They're back in summer, and there are a couple of changes for Giants at least. And I think that both for Giants and H2k, they had surprising runs last split, but I do want to start with Giants' story because that is not a team that we expected that much of, particularly coming into spring, but they were one of the best teams coming into those first couple of weeks.
Exactly, like we had them as the lowest ranked team going into the split, but we had, if people don't remember, a very late game focused meta where it was hard for teams to finish games, even with Baron, they needed 3 or 4 of them, and what Giants showed us was really, really good late game team fighting. Especially around someone like Betsy, who could play champs like Azir. We had his Veigar as well, and he actually carried so many of these late game fights.
Yeah, I mean, it was really impressive for them coming in because we didn't expect a whole lot out of them. And as you said, the late game fights, I loved their drafts, building the competition early on into the split. And that was a thing that took teams a really long time to figure out.
Absolutely. So with patch 8.11, for me, it doesn't exactly equate in the same way because late game team fights don't necessarily translate to what we're seeing now on the Rift. But can Giants do that as well?
Well, see, so that's kind of the thing, you know, they were quick to pick up the late game meta. So we should say, okay, they showed they understood how to play going into a new split. It could be the same here. My problem is just that this is much more focused on the early game. And the moment Giants could no longer just draft for late game in the spring split, they started losing and losing and losing. This might be too fast in-game for this Giants lineup.
Yeah, we're not going to say anything before we see them play, but I definitely have high expectations because Giants did phenomenally in the first couple of weeks. I want to see them continue that and just bring it a bit further. And for me, they then have to make playoffs this split. If that will happen, a lot will come down to the fact if their lineup can gel because they have made a change. A bit unexpected, I think, for some of us. Targamas is replaced by SirNukesAlot now on support. He's 2 meters, 7 centimeters tall. I'm just throwing that out there again. I just think it's a cool branding opportunity for him. You can't see it here, unfortunately.
What happened?
So it's a bit cheating, but what do you guys make of that? Because Targamas was not really someone that maybe that's the problem. We didn't have high highs from him particularly, and maybe that's what Giants want to see.
Sure, I don't think Targamas' performance was necessarily bad in the split, but when you look at their placement at the end of the season, you have to make some changes. I feel like they were one of the teams that were willing to make changes, and that's why we have a little bit higher expectations for them coming in.
Yeah.
You also have to remember they made another change in the coaching staff. Naru is out. Coops is now in as the coach.
The self-proclaimed late game king.
The late game king, if you ask himself, he needs to show that here. Yeah, if he can get to the late game here and win games with Giants in this meta, that would be impressive. But I think just overall, this team said, because we ended up losing so many games towards the end, because we couldn't make playoffs despite getting 5 early wins in the split, we need to make some changes. We don't know what happened internally, but very clearly the team seemed to agree. New coach, and they wanted a different support.
And when we talk about early game, I think of Djoko on that Giants lineup. He was really a shining star for me for probably the entire split. Against all odds. I think that's fair to say. Is that also the guy we are looking at in summer?
I think he has to absolutely be that player because he was willing to make all these crazy plays. He didn't always set up the vision for it, but he was willing to flip the coin. And when it worked out, it really worked out.
He just kept flipping them coins. Every single game. You never knew what's going to happen there with Djoko. And it didn't even matter if you played like Zac or something. We're like, okay, he's going to farm a little bit. Level 2, he's in your face. And he's probably going to do the same here. This could be Master Yi Djoko running around the map, killing everyone.
I would love to see that.
That could happen.
We'd love to see. We'll have to see what he decides to go for against H2k. Now, when we look at H2k, Giants had a good start and a slow finish. H2k was the other way around. They had the worst start you can imagine in the spring split. They were 1-7 after 4 weeks. Honestly, we had lost all hope. We thought they would be completely out of the race. They did, however, miraculously beat Fnatic in that first week, but that was really the only thing that was good over there. Is that correct even? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we basically gave up around week 4 on
Yes.
H2k and said, okay, this team is just going to keep losing. But it's important to highlight they made roster changes.
Yes.
It's not the original roster that ended up this suddenly winning games. And the first big one they made was when they moved Kadril to the jungle, benched Centaurian, and put Selfie in the mid lane. Centaurian. Anyway, they benched him. Kadril moved to the jungle, and what happened?
It was some craziness. I don't think it wasn't the roster change that netted them all those wins. It was really when they brought in Sjokz, I think, that impressed me, because he was the guy that was willing to play through Selfie in the mid lane and give Sheriff resources too so he could carry.
You can almost say there was a Sjokz effect.
Was there
really
a
shook
effect?
things up.
Maybe shook things up.
Definitely was a Sjokz
Immediately
effect.
beat his ex-team. They beat Vitality then as well, which is really an upward trend. And you guys mentioned it already. Selfie doing better with Sjokz in there, but the one guy that got enabled, we still don't know exactly what it was, probably the fact that the team was just gelling a lot better, is Sheriff in that bottom lane.
Yeah, and he was the rookie last split. It is okay to take a bit of time before you find your footing on stage, but also we have to remember this H2k team, they stopped falling as far behind in the early game as they did previously. It is a little bit easier as an AD carry to win your late game fights if you're not 10k gold down. Sheriff showed that multiple times, and everyone was suddenly calling for him to potentially be rookie of the split, even though Jisuke was just going crazy every single game, and that showed how much he actually improved.
Yeah, and we gotta ask the question, especially today, especially on 8.11. He's great at being a marksman, but how great is he at doing the other things?
I watched his stream. That was some bad Mordecai. I saw that.
No.
That was bad.
Well, Attila was saying in the post-game interview, listen, if you want to play marksman, you're going to lose. That's how simple it is. Now, it might be as clear-cut, but what do you think? Do you think he's going to have to change it up?
Here, I think there's still so many options. You know, we mentioned Ezreal, the Kai'Sa, all these non-crit marksmen are still very effective in the current meta, and they make so much work done in the late game. That's really where the marksman trumps the bruisers.
And Giants and H2k, if we take a step back, both came incredibly close to making it to playoffs, and that's really where we want to see them at the end of summer. But what's your predictions for this game specifically? Who takes it?
H2k for me.
It was H2k for me too. We had the same predictions all day.
That's true. You're a smart man. You're very smart.
I didn't know what you were going to predict.
Yeah, he didn't peek in.
Great synergy already. We'll
Smart
see
man.
what happens
I like
and if Giants can get their revenge on H2k. As we leave it to Drakos and Vedius.
Thank you, Sjokz. Excited for the second game. H2k versus Giants. I like what they said. If you pick a marksman, you're going to lose. Ender, not convinced, thanks to Sarah.
I'm not convinced.
You're not convinced.
I think Lucian and Draven are still really good AD carries. Maybe Heimerdinger is just the one.
The AD carry.
Yeah, they also banned out things like Vladimir and Ryze, which we didn't get to see down the bot lane. We've seen a load of that over in the Eastern Hemisphere. But I want to see more stuff. We have H2k and we have Giants. Now, Sjokz, he's an interesting player. He is an enabler, but I've never really considered him to be a super early active, proactive jungler that like tries to gank a lot and tries to like really snowball leads for his team. I think he's just someone that kind of makes sure Sheriff has a good laning phase, makes sure that he communicates a lot with Selfie, and I think that we're not going to be seeing him on like crazy picks. I think we are going to be seeing crazy picks from Djoko. He is the kind of player that does want to find those early leads, and what I'm thinking of is like, could this be the Xin Zhao? Could this be our opportunity to see those early aggressive junglers that we have been seeing over in the LPL?
And it's interesting, too, because it feels like for the first time in a long time, a lot of the picks that are incredibly powerful in solo queue, things like Master Yi, things like Xin Zhao, things like Aurelia or Graves, are seeing bans on the competitive stage. We're really lining up more than we have in the past. Aurelia taken off the board, they're not going to get the chance. Taric taking away a lot of those more unique strategies where your mid laner becomes a support.
Yep. Remember that we have also seen things like Braum Graves work as a duo. Nunu Karthus is another one that we've been seeing. Leona with some kind of super carry has also worked too. But we already see the Graves band. You talked about the Taric. Maybe we could see it, but I feel like that with so many target bans towards it, that won't be the priority. It'll be a little bit more meta, quote unquote, with a couple of flex options. As we,
I guess we call it a standard.
Yeah,
standard. Tanks, bruisers in the top lane, mages in the mid lane, maybe. We're gonna find out. Lulu also taken off the board, yet another fantastic supportive pick in this meta. H2k, see what they want to go for. Zoe, interestingly enough, rising in the EU LCS as a priority pick. Second time she's been picked in first rotation across 2 games.
We've also got to remember that for Selfie, Zoe was one of his comfort picks during the regular season. It's something that he did often trend towards. And I feel like it is just generally pretty strong right now. The amount of siege that it can provide. Typically in the 1 versus 1, she does well against many mid lane champions. And you know, we already talked about AD carries that are still viable in the meta. Now we're going to see one.
Absolutely. Lucian, so strong, still potentially a flex pick. We've seen it mid, I think, most recently when it was viable last. Now taking their time on what exactly they want to lock in. Maokai, potentially a tank for the top lane. Never mind. I have no idea where Maokai will go if it gets locked in. It could be a Maokai pick, could be anywhere. But Taliyah!
We forgot about her!
We did! She's a jungler now and very likely to go into the jungle. BDD in the LCK has played her in the mid lane, but from everything we've heard from European pro players, she will most likely go into the jungle.
She is really, really strong. She has very good clear speed. She has a lot of damage. She is very mobile as well because her passive got changed. Her ganks are pretty effective because the amount of control that she has with her E. I'm also now 3 for 3 on my picks to watch, so humble brag there. Even though it was a little easy, I must admit.
You had a bit of time. You had a bit of lead in here, and now another pick, Vedius.
Yes! The Dark King himself! Nocturne makes his way onto the Rift. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. For those that don't know, I am a Nocturne one-trick. I play him in the mid lane, but I also love him in the jungle. As a champion, I think he's great. He has so much burst damage, and at level 6, we're going to see so much fun. This is my favorite meta ever.
Expect a lot of activity there. We want to see how Sjokz is going to play the Nocturne pick. Level 6, the ever-crucial power spike, as you already mentioned. Ornn now, still as strong as ever, has been played in the bottom lane as well as the top lane, as well as the mid lane. It's a counter to some options, so can still go anywhere, although at this point, very likely that the Zoe will be the mid lane choice. Tahm, Kench now rounding out the first pick phase for Giants as we head into the second ban phase.
Oof. All right, so to break what we got so far down, you have pressure in the middle lane from the side of H2k and the Zoe. They can now look to ban away more mid lane champs to kind of guarantee that pressure in the middle half of the map. Giants have drafted themselves a pretty strong 2 versus 2 down towards the bot. Tahm Kench often does very well into bruises because it's easy for him to close the gap. He has decent damage as well that you can't really disrespect. And the thing you have to bear in mind from H2k is the amount of flexibility that they have. The Ornn can go into the bot lane position or can go up towards the top. He can be both the carry, or he can be the support in the bottom side of the map. And H2k still have a lot of room to vary with the composition that they've drafted.
And you can see Draven banned away, not wanting to put Lucian up against the Draven pick. Shen banned as well. We've seen this guy be really good in the bot lane against some of the more bruisery options, as well as just a generally flexible pick in the meta. See what the final ban is going to be from H2k as they round this out before passing it back over to Giants for their 4th pick. Aatrox taken off as well.
That does imply that the Ornn will be heading towards the top lane if they wanted to take things away like the Shen and the Aatrox, which are pretty strong, especially early duelists. Early duelists for Shen, typically not so much for Aatrox, but he usually gets a free laning phase. So those will be taken off the board. Now you're looking at priority for something like the top lane, because you imagine we have jungle, or also the mid lane, which in terms of what is available, it looks like that. See, I don't agree with this at all. I don't agree with this whatsoever.
Here's the thing we got to remind people, though. Betsy is a madman on Azir if he can get to late game. If he can get to late game. Early mid, still rough, but this pick is so good for Betsy in the late game. Koob's the self-proclaimed late game king.
Sure.
Clearly wants to take it there, but I agree, Vedius. This could be questionable.
Like, the thing is, this Zoe was picked as a counter to Azir all throughout last split. Not only that, like, the meta is not about late game right now. Sure, he can self-proclaim as being a late game king, but in order to get there is a very challenging task, especially when you look at the amount of engage that H2k are drafting and potentially going for a lot of kill pressure down towards the bottom lane.
Sorry, Vedius. I really want to see this pike pick.
I
think he's teasing us.
I think he's teasing.
Okay. If this gets locked in, I am not entirely sure exactly what H2k's lane setups are going to be, but we will find out. Soraka locked in the end. We have double support picks on the side of H2k.
I actually think it's Ornn in the bot lane position and then Karma top. That would be my initial guess. We'll see how that pans out.
Wait a second.
remember, what we're looking for right now is we have the mid laner. The last thing we're looking for is a top laner. That's what we're expecting from Giants. They're not entirely sure who's going top lane. It's either Karma or the Ornn. And so they're just going to pick a fairly safe tank, something that we have been seeing arise a lot more in the recent meta.
Something to mitigate Nocturne's potential to get right into the back line. Options to disrupt with the hammer, with the knockback there. Now Vedius, we have to remind people 20 seconds is the last chance to swap anything. So when 20 seconds comes around, we'll 100% know. Giants feels pretty locked in. There is still some flexibility on the side of H2k. This could be the first instance of Karma, Soraka, bot lane.
How interesting. Oof. I'd be a little bit surprised. I think I'd prefer the Karma up towards the top side of the map if you do want to run the Karma. The fact that they have drafted themselves a Karma, I think, is just quite unique in its own way. It will be guaranteed going down into the bottom lane. I think you're going to struggle against the Lucian. Yes, you'll have a decent amount of wave clear. You should have healthy amount of sustain, but Lucian is considered a bit of a lane bully, especially when he has those extra auto attack damages and he can just dash into your face. He has the security of a Tahm Kench as well. Maybe against the Soraka you have to be careful because every time you dash in, the silence can come down.
And here's the thing, Vedius, we saw last game how important push priority is. And a Karma Soraka lane
that's fair.
is gonna push, Vedius. We know that for sure. But the picks I think we have to keep our eyes on. Taliyah jungle. First time we've seen an EU LCS. Nocturne jungle coming in as well. A pick you know very well. The level 6 is important because we got a Tahm Kench, we've got a Nocturne, we've got a Taliyah. People are gonna be moving around this map. And we gotta see where they're gonna end up here in our second game of the day.
So, in terms of compositions, I mean, Giants, they do kind of want to get to the late game. You have the Essence Reaver changes on the Lucian that make him like a real terror once he hits 2 to 3 items. Azir naturally always going to be scary once he gets to that 3-item mark, which we'll see if he's able to get there. But Djoko on this Taliyah, you can make a lot of stuff happen in the early game. You're a very good fighter, you're a very good duelist, you have a lot of mobility. Your clear throughout the jungle is very, very effective. So maybe they're looking at jungle to be Djoko to be that early jungle pressure and to kind of enable his team to sort of scale towards more of the late game and team fights.
And now you already mentioned this, Vedius, but one thing to note about Taliyah, why she is being played in the jungle. Changes coming through, passive activates faster, gives more movement speed, so she roams really well. And Q, yes, it sucks at clearing waves in the mid lane for the most part, but it is so good now at killing jungle camps. The single target damage, incredibly high at just about every stage of the game.
Yeah, it does full damage to minions and monsters, which is like really, really good. And it's something that really enables Taliyah jungle, which in the past, because every time you would hit a minion, it would each subsequent Q would then do less damage. So the jungle clear is absolutely phenomenal. And we'll see where Djoko looks to try and start. Remember that we talked already a lot about like early game playmaking from the side of Giants, and that is the kind of player that Djoko is. He's always been someone that is willing to sacrifice his own farm in order to find those early advantages for his team, and we have to be honest and say the last split was probably the best split of his career.
Very good. The catalyst for Giants able to finish as well as they did. Early in the split especially, so often the person that let them get at least far enough ahead or stop them from bleeding to get them to the late game. We'll see if he can do the same here. Betsy back on that Azir. Looking for that scaling option. Sjokz gonna take away the blue buff though. Strong early start from him. Trying to disrupt the hyper clear speed of this Taliyah jungle. Uses Djoko. Leashless there, and he's gonna move straight to the Scuttle Crab, it looks like.
It looks like they're just trading each side of the map. Sjokz wants to kind of have a bit of control towards the bot side, but very early gank potentially coming out from Djoko. A Djoko classic, but there is a ward in the river from the side of H2k, so Smittyj is able to read that one out, play it a little bit more defensive. It is just sitting underneath that red ward.
Yeah. Now backing off, Djoko just going to settle for clearing the blue. Split map, as you mentioned, does make it even easier now for Sheriff and Promisq to push in on the bottom side of the map. And we have to remember, Giants, a new member on the team, SirNukesAlot on the Tahm Kench, going up against Sheriff Promisq. Well, this might not be the most interactive bot lane they expected in this first game.
Gotta be honest, like, not a bot lane I'm particularly familiar with. You talked about the wave clear. It does feel like that's coming in very effectively in this early game. And you have to imagine that every time Lucian tries to trade, he's always going to get punished. You have the silence, you also have the shielding on the Karma. Every time he tries to gap close, you also have the root on top of the Karma as well. So I imagine that maybe you can't really have kill pressure from the Sheriff Promisq bot lane, but it becomes very obnoxious for Steeelback to really find any opportunities anywhere.
Absolutely does. And of course, you see both junglers taking their respective first Scuttle Crabs. This is kind of the defining jungle camp at the moment. A ton of gold, experience, mana, and health back. Really crucial for both these guys. You're going to see level 3s coming in on both sides as well. And really just continues. These guys fearless about going into the enemy jungle, clear out where necessary. They both see that the map has been split. Kind of this gentleman's agreement, Vedius, that either one of them are going to look to contest. And Pressure continues to rain out for Giants on the top side of the map and bot lane, as expected, going against them.
Yeah, so advantage in the bottom line, side of the map for H2k. They did also have the jungle assistance, and that nicely transitions us to talk about Nocturne. Now, I love Nocturne.
I'm going to give you a minute.
Get
a minute anytime you bring up Nocturne, because I know you'll go forever.
That's true. So, I just want to talk about two of my favorite things about Nocturne. The first one is a lot of people underestimate the amount of damage that he gets from his Q, right? So at level 1, you get 20 AD from just sitting on the Q. At level 5, you get 60. That is a BF sword, a long sword, and that is an additional 580 on top of that. It is so much attack damage from just your Q without even building any additional damage outside of that as well. So that's my first favorite thing. He's a very strong duelist, has a lot of built-in damage. My second favorite thing is his ulti was buffed a little while back to last 6 seconds. 6 seconds of darkness feels like an eternity. And if you are cut off from your team, or if you are isolated on a side lane, it becomes very difficult to know how you can help other people, and it creates a lot of confusion in things like team fights and around objectives. And that value is often underappreciated for people who haven't played against a lot of Nocturne.
And I think it's especially important against Tahm Kench. If he's not right next to his ally when that Nocturne ults, he's not going to be able to use that Devour to save them. He has to sit on top of Steeelback or Betsy at all times if he wants to protect them overall. Spell Shield as well. Good at stopping a lot of the disengage options. Like the Taliyah, like the Azir, who can kind of try to stop the Nocturne from getting on top of the team.
And the one thing I will say is, while Tahm Kench will help in terms of mitigating the one-shot potential that I imagine Sjokz will go for in terms of the builds that he will aim towards, things like Djoko on the Taliyah and Azir running Cleanse, they are very easily one-shottable when he completes his jungle item and he completes the Duskblade. He's going for the lethal tempo, very common all across the word, that giant boost of attack speed that you have once you make contact with your opposition or after the slight delay. Very, very effective at following up from all the burst damage.
And he is going to get the second Scuttle Crab spawn as well, so 2 going over to H2k, and you can see a long time since we last saw Nocturne in the hands of Sjokz.
That's like
That's many
5 years ago? 4, 5 years ago?
Can we get it translated to years, please, stats? We don't want to do math. Doing math is a dangerous trap live on air.
But so far, this early game has been very, very standard. Nothing too exceptional. H2k, we talked a lot about how they have priority down towards the bot side of the map. They have been slowly pushing in towards the tower. Djoko, he's been kind of looking for a couple things. He looked for a bit of a gank top lane. He's hanging around mid, looking for an opportunity here. But H2k, respecting a lot of the early game damage potential. They know that Sjokz isn't 6 yet, but when he gets it, that's when the laners can look to be a little bit more aggressive because they know they have that jungle support.
Now I want to see Vedius. We saw Sheriff, Promisq dominate the early push pressure, but Djoko's on the way to try to shut this down. It has been spotted out, but are they willing to go for a dive here to shut down this bottom lane? And can the push be actually sustained now that Lucian's gotten a chance to go back, getting a few items under his belt? Find out when they do return. For now, keeping an eye on the mid lane. We talk about going late game, Vedius, and I think we have to evaluate who actually comes out on top the later we go. And yeah, you've got 2 supports, you've got a lot of shielding for the Nocturne, whoever wants to dive into the back line, but Azir Taliyah feels unstoppable to me in a late game fight.
It is really good, and again, we talked a little bit about it earlier with Essence Reaver changes, where now when you ulti, you basically have like a lot of cooldown reduction on all your other abilities. It makes Lucian really mobile, it gives him a lot of extra damage because he is so reliant on his abilities, and he does become a pretty effective mid to late game threat. So yes, I look at this Giants comp and off the back and say, especially when you have this big frontliner and Poppy, you have a Tahm Kench support as well, like there is a lot of team fight power in this composition. But H2k, they have 2 damage dealers. And when you look at the straight 5v5, sure, Zoe isn't amazing because she's often single target. Nocturne is also relatively single target, but you have so many supports that it's kind of like a composition that's almost built around the Nocturne. A composition that basically enables him to dive in. He has follow-up with the Ornn, or the Ornn acts as the initial engage, with which is then followed up by the Nocturne. But you then have all these shields and support and poke from the Karma, and you have the heals from the Soraka too. So you think that you can just one-shot this Nocturne? Well, no. It's not as easy as it looked based on the composition around them. So yes, on paper, I would say the Giants have a strong team-fighting composition, but without having seen how this comp works in practice, I don't want to completely count out yet how effective this composition can be.
No, of course, execution always going to reign supreme as we move later in the game, and you talk about Nocturne, so squishy. He goes full AD, so easy to kill outside of those one-on-one scenarios, but yeah, Karma, Soraka, they do pretty nice mitigating into that action. Now, interestingly enough, Giants trying to take priority back from bottom lane. Can't get it with just 2 members, so they send a third down, Djoko on the Taliyah, going to move there, but level 6 is coming for Sjokz. This is what we talked about, the big moments for that Nocturne, opportunities to start to look for those pickoffs.
So now one thing I don't know is, because you have the, I'm looking towards the top lane. You talked a little bit about it. Here comes in the ulti from Smittyj.
All the Forge God. It has been used. Nocturne is there. They're not going to follow up, though. Trading ultis back and forth. Nothing really burned in the end. So well played by Ruin to stop anything from happening.
Exactly that. I'm a little curious as to what happens if you ulti a Poppy when she does have the shield up around her, because you become unstoppable in the Nocturne channel. So we'll see how things play out. Now Tahm Kench ulti towards the top side.
Back. Looks like Smittyj could be the one who's caught out. Nocturne nowhere nearby. Ruin hitting level 8 as well. Pretty easy just to cut him down at this stage. Who are they going to give the kill to? Looks like Steeelback. Gonna grab first blood in this game. Nice start for the Giants lineup.
I like the decision making here from Giants. They recognize that they cannot hold down this bot lane tower. That is why we saw Djoko move towards the bot side of the map to enable this trade towards the top side, and Giants find themselves with first blood.
And now I want to see how they snowball. They've got control over the top side again. Djoko is there. You can see Promisq and Sheriff. Soraka Karma lane. Gonna do what they can to hold this, but they have to be careful. Promisq is going to get knocked back. That burst damage is insane from the Taliyah early on. She doesn't even have any items. Just cuts through the health bar of that Soraka. Gotta be scared. You gotta respect that pick.
Yep, good damage there from the side of Giants. They will force the heal out from Promisq. And I'm looking now at what Giants will continue to do in terms of their next few moves. They've now swapped up the map. They do find themselves that early kill. They've gained a bit of vision control towards the top side. Now the bottom lane is actually going back to base. Now remember that Steeelback does have the teleport. There is a minion wave towards bot side. Will they look to try and make a push towards the bot, maybe trade back, or will they continue to stay in the 2 versus 2? It looks like that they're going to stay the way they are, and they just kind of want to buy more time. Remember that this composition is gearing towards the late game. They don't want to snowball out of control, so they're just trying to mitigate as much of the early pressure from H2k as possible.
Yeah, just swapping back and forth, keeping us in this laning phase. Happy with their respective matchups because, you know, Steeelback, yes, he is getting pushed in. Yes, there is a CS deficit, but they haven't lost any towers yet. H2k haven't snowballed, haven't been able to use that Nocturne really to any effect whatsoever, and things are only going to get easier. You can see healing reduction comes in for the Lucian, as well as lifesteal. Very lane-focused itemization, I think you could say, coming out. It makes sense, but it is going to make it a lot harder for the Karma and Soraka lane to do anything when Djoko does show up.
And yeah, Djoko is hanging around this duo a lot. They recognize, okay, there's a bit of kill pressure here. We can maybe take advantage of this, but now Sjokz, yet to use his ultimate. He's level 8. I want to see him throw out a gank somewhere. There's no point sitting on that cooldown if you're just going to run around and farm. Try and get a summoner spell out from someone. Try and make pressure happen as we see him
going back. Beautiful play from Selfie to evade the ult there. The Emperor's Divide not going to work out. Zoe's always going to go back to where she comes from. Buy a bit of time, but Giants ready to pull the trigger there.
Yeah, SirNukesAlot really trying to be proactive with this Tahm Kench ultimate. Funnily enough, more proactive than the Nocturne is right now. He's been able to find 2 successful ganks and able to force a couple summoner spells out. Now Sjokz hanging around the bot side. They want to secure this first tower as a trade for the Rift Herald.
Difficult spot to be in too. Yes, Poppy doesn't have any armor, but her health bar very much full. Steeelback going to take a huge chunk there as the Soul Flare comes out. Sjokz going to grab this one in the end though, so all in all, it feels like Giants' game. The goal difference is minuscule in terms of early control. However, H2k do fire back. The early tower pressure that they got from the Soraka Karma finally paying off as they grab that first tower, and it is traded for the Rift Herald in exchange.
Yeah, so I think Giants can be pretty happy with that trade. You already talked about the items that were coming in from Lucian and how they will enable him to have a little bit more power in this 2 versus 2. Djoko just going to throw the Rift Herald out. We talked about the changes that happened to Rift Herald. Basically, if you protect her, she's now much more effective at taking towers because she can do more damage to them. But if she also takes more damage if you hit that big, juicy eye on the back end. So that's the thing you got to be careful of. And it looks like Giants just wanted to throw it out to get a little bit of extra damage. But so far, the Azir pick doing okay. Lucian and Tahm Kench holding their own in the bot lane, and maybe they will be one of the teams to bring us to late game. Maybe they will show to us what you can do with the scaling composition. But to be fair, H2k's comp, not really the most of early game focused, I would say.
They got the early priority, but not much else has seemed very early game. They do have the first tower though, and Vedius, this is when we start normally to see the map open up. You see the dual lane swap back and forth. Maybe the tempo picks up, and Giants struggle a little bit with more scaling options, but it hasn't happened yet. Only that one tower to fall. For now, Promisq and Sheriff just placing down a bit of vision. Now maybe looking for the mid lane.
Mid lane tower is naturally quite low. So we're just throwing out some sparkles, enjoying herself on the Rift. very popular right now. We talked a lot about how she is seeing a lot of pro play pretty much all across the world. Mandrake is still up and available. Looks like that's not going to be the priority for either team right now. And it's interesting that there hasn't been more of a focus on the Drake so far. It's been very much focused on trying to go for those early towers and gain map control via that.
Oh, he's going to get pulled back, though. Selfie now running for his life, sped up there, doing what he can, but he is going to get taken down in the end. Betsy just chipping away with those Sand Shoulders. Giants taking control back of the game as they knock down their first tower.
A 5-man collapse in the middle lane with no answer from H2k. Giants, they're the ones that are geared towards getting to that late game. Koobs himself has claimed that he is the late game king. And so far, it is Giants that are being the proactive ones on the map, looking to punish H2k when they can. And we've got to keep our eyes on the minimap. Poppy comes in from a flank from behind. There is no vision in that half of the jungle, and while Ruin doesn't really have any influence on the gank itself, he cut off the potential escape route that Zoe would have, and after he used his ultimate, it was very easy for Giants to get the collapse.
It's interesting, too, because we can see Giants punishing in the mid lane, doing so well, and on the opposite side, you know, the creative team comp from H2k is good, but I'm not sure if it enables some of their star players. Sheriff, a guy we have to talk about, has been such a consistent performer since this team turned its record around. And you got to wonder, is the Karma the right choice here for him, as the early game strategy doesn't appear to be coming to any kind of fruition, doesn't done too much for them yet.
I mean, we saw it on the Analyst desk where with the roster changes, H2k really enabled Sheriff to be a bigger carry. We also saw that big highlight play that he had from last split against Giants where he got that miraculous base defense. Now that he is playing the Karma, it's harder to be that big carry naturally. You can still make some cool plays, but outside of that, you are put onto a more supportive role. And so far, they're looking to try and shut that down as both flashes were used from both Sheriff and Promisq. Let's just take a second to appreciate now. First ulti I believe I've seen from Djoko. Maybe he used one off screen, but that is the third ulti from SirNukesAlot. Yet to see Sjokz try anything. Very disappointing as a Nocturne player, given that when you have these globals, and when you know that there are a lack of summoner spells on the map, you should try and force plays, you should look to be proactive. It is not a difficult thing to try and apply pressure with, and you don't really lose a lot as a result.
And really, Tahm, Kench, and Taliyah being used so well by Giants to rotate,
it's so
coming in, and look, you're not going to kill in a 2v2. You're probably never killing Sheriff and Promisq, but when you can bring more members, when you can wall them off like that, you see both flashes immediately forced.
And you're immediately forced to play defensively, right? Now your Soraka doesn't have a flash. She can't walk up as aggressively as maybe she wants to, because what if Betsy tries to go for a Shurima Shuffle? What if Djoko's able to land a knockback? There are all these risks that you then have to kind of pay more respect towards. And I like the proactivity that we're seeing from Giants. They've now been able to claim themselves a gold lead, but aside of that, we're not really seeing them gain pressure anywhere else on the map.
And when we look across the board, you see the Lucian who was bullied out, who was suffering in pressure, wasn't getting as much support in the early game, until Djoko decided to roam down. Now even items just about. Short boots too, you know, but has a little bit of healing reduction there as well. Blade of the Rune King now completed, so things look good right now for Steeelback despite living under his tower for the first, 12 minutes of the game. And
I can't wait to see him complete that Essence Reaver. Often we've seen a lot of Black Cleaver second before they go for the Essence Reaver. Have that extra bit of health. The Armor Shred also helps, but that's often seen against some of the bruises that you get down in the bottom lane. So he could go for an earlier Essence Reaver, have that extra bit of mobility. It's also a lot of AD, so it's definitely not a bad second rush. But we'll see what he decides to go for. It just gives you so much mobility, so much damage. And maybe that's what they want to try and take advantage of. Also a slight shift from Betsy in the middle lane. Rush on the Luden's Echo rather than the Nash's Tooth. So slightly different Azir builds compared to what we saw a lot of last split.
Yeah, and of course the big change, Presence of Mind, no longer giving you basically unlimited mana when you level up or get a kill. So might want a bit more mana in the pool there, a bit more reliably able to contribute in fights. And also the nice thing about the new mid lane itemization that we've seen for a while now, Vedius, is that one of these items, whether it's the Archangels, whether it's the Ludens, kind of gives you everything you need. But for now, Smittyj is going to have to walk away from this exchange. Steeelback, though, quickly on the hunt. Has to be careful, still at level 12 Ornn he's walking into, but just starting to cut him down. Healing reduction is there, not a lot of armor shred. Smittyj running for his life. Looks like the flash will come out to take him to safety. Sjokz there to back him up. Just giving up a flash, traded only for that Tahm Kench ultimate and the Steeelback ultimate as well.
And this is still Giants utilizing their globals to put pressure onto H2k. Now we have the Ornn ult.
Called Forge God comes out. Betsy gets knocked up, but no follow-up. And
to be fair, he was under his tower.
Absolutely.
I will give him that.
But Vedius, I think the thing that we're waiting for, that the audience is waiting for at this point, is when does the Nocturne ult come out? Where is it going to get used? Anytime someone gets hit from that range, you kind of expect to hear darkness. You expect to see this guy go in, and of course, that circumstance probably not the right choice. But when is the right circumstance at this point in the game?
I don't know. Maybe he's waiting for the Duskblade so he has that one-shot potential, but yeah.
Could have gotten it a lot faster if he killed some people in the early game.
I'm just saying, like, the thing to remember is, this goes especially for champions like Taliyah and Tahm, Kench as well. Throwing out your ultimate is, especially a global, will not hurt you like roaming to another lane if you set it up properly. Let's say you push out like top lane or bot lane, and then you use your ulti to try a play mid. Maybe you got a summon a spell. And sure, it's not a kill, but it's an advantage. And then maybe you can look to make the same play again because your ulti is naturally going to be on a shorter cooldown. And with Taliyah, with Djoko, we've seen him use his ulti twice now just to try and make a play around the map. And it hasn't netted in a lot of kills, but now look at how much control Giants have over the map. And it is just because they are trying to be proactive versus H2k, who, surprisingly enough, are not doing a huge amount. And that surprises us, especially when you think of how well their second half of the split went and how proactive this team looked and how good they often looked in. Funnily enough, a lot of those late-game team fights, maybe that is what they're waiting for. Maybe that is the last bastion of hope, and they are relying on Sjokz to be the big carry with the kind of composition that they built around him.
And the thing is I don't know about you, for you, but for me, I haven't seen the Soraka Karma paired with a Nocturne. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they know that, hey, we hit this Duskblade like you were talking about. This is the moment where we start to one-shot anybody. Does not matter who's around. This is the moment we're waiting for our composition to take off. But if they keep waiting, we know that they're falling behind. We know that this Karma isn't going to scale in the same way as a Lucian or an Azir. Obviously, immensely powerful in terms of the shield, but the late game damage, not quite on the same consistent level as some of these other champions.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we've got to also bear in mind that the gold is still very close. The towers are very even. When you look across the map, vision is divided fairly evenly, but Baron is now on the board. We talked a little bit about it last game. We're going to remind you once again. Baron has been made a little bit weaker in terms of damage, has a lot more HP, so it's easier to spot out if you're starting it, but it also means that it can be taken a lot earlier. Teams are looking to fight over it much more proactively in the current metagame compared to what they were before. But Giants, they don't really need to right now. They're happy to sit back and scale. They're looking to pick up some of their second items, which they're very near to completion, and feeling pretty good.
And you can see Sheriff and Promisq roaming top, trying to threaten there, but just really not a lot of kill pressure on the H2k lineup right now. Kind of waiting for Selfie to hit some CC, for Sjokz to follow up, but outside of that, you're Soraka and a Karma, you're kind of waiting for people to come to you. Sadly, when Giants decide that it's time to engage, it's time to fight, you know that they're going to be pretty far ahead or late enough in the game that their carries are going to be, well, quite scaled up.
You know, this game wasn't exciting as I thought it was going to be. Drakos, game one, we had Heimerdinger, we had K-Shots.
People are dying left and right.
So much action, and now it's like, let us play macro. Let us play farm and passive. It's like, okay, this could be it. They're going to look to fight right now.
So Sleepy is here, going into the backline, holding onto the cleanse though, taking a bit of time. H2k sieging up. Very difficult for Giants to approach, as we mentioned. The silence, the threat there from the Soraka, the Karma as well to speed up the team if they want to get out. So that is the first tower for H2k.
Yep.
Duskblade not completed, but should be along shortly, so maybe this is the moment where they start to split the map up, start to pick off these members of Giants.
Remember that if the Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land, Nocturne can immediately follow up and potentially go for that one shot that he does have once he's got the Duskblade. Drake now being started at 21 minutes into the game.
Trying to match mountain for mountain, offer a bit more threat. They want to go for it, but the Taliyah wall is coming in, splitting it off. Zoe isolated on her own side. Immediately the ulti's coming out. Djoko may have misstepped. Sjokz not hesitating to keep that one going. Gonna try to get the fear flashing out to safety. Soraka healing him up. Sjokz has made it out, but not for long. The heals are still coming. Betsy's still gonna grab a kill. Selfie doing what he can, wreaking havoc in the backline, pulling back, using the flash from the Spell Thief, buying a bit of time. Ruin's not gonna have it though. He knows he's tanky enough. Steeelback is there as well. He wants to get somebody, but suddenly the Zoe's gone. He has to flash out to safety. He's not getting anything, but Ruin will grab the kill. Betsy wants to make the play. He's gonna get one back. Giants coming in through the fight in the end and taking that one pretty dang clean.
Such a long team fight that is eventually won by Giants. 4-for-1. The Drake will go in their favor, and Giants demonstrating the power of their team fight composition. H2k is rather reliant on the damage output from Sjokz, and he dives onto the backline. So, it all starts with Giants not being in the best position to really contest this Drake. They're funneled into a choke point. They try and use the Taliyah wall to split their enemy up, and now Sjokz is on the backline by himself. He cannot win this 1 versus 2 against the 2 big damage dealers on Giants, Smittyj is forced to flash out of the pit at full health. The Nocturne is left to fend for himself. And this basically just means that H2k don't have the damage anymore. Look, you can see Steeelback is free to walk up. He's not afraid of anything. Yes, he takes a big chunk of damage, but even in that situation, with his flash still available, okay, let's be real. Steeelback walking into a pit in that situation, kind of bad. Almost very nearly killed himself, but he didn't need to.
Right, I call it clean. It was not clean. That was a messy back and forth fight.
But the point is that you can see how much harder it was for H2k to really win that fight because they just kind of ran out of damage.
Absolutely, but Nocturne's going to go in one more time. Wants to take down the Taliyah. Tahm Kench, though, could be picked off. Call of Forge Guard is there. Now trying to move in. The support has been taken off the board. Is that picking up to give H2k a greater advantage? Still in a deficit. Still up against those two Mountain Drakes. Is this where they try to take the big objective?
So that's a good pick there from H2k. It will allow them to gain a lot of control around the top side of the map. There is a teleport on Smittyj, so we can just head down bot and catch that minion wave so it isn't all lost to the tower. And finding those punishes with a lot of summoner spells down, that's a good use of the Nocturne ultimate. You do have a lot more damage now that the Dustblade has been completed. But Giants, they're still with the gold advantage. They still have a good scaling composition. It's only going to get stronger as the game progresses. You can see 2 items have been completed, and looks like Steeelback is working towards that Black Cleaver. So even after the loss of their support, they're still feeling good.
Locked up under the tower. CC is going to come through. Snare not going to connect. Good escape from Ruin on the minion. Would have been in hot water if he was stuck under that tower. For now, the game still continues to go in the favor of Giants.
Yeah.
And we have to see how well H2k can execute, because we look back at that fight. You talked about Nocturne being the source of damage, dying. It feels like the team was maybe on the same page when he leaps in. Soraka Karma could be closer to back him up. Feels like it could have been executed cleaner.
Maybe. But I mean, we also saw how long he stayed alive, right? The amount of heals he got, the shields. There's potential there. There's definitely something that H2k see with this composition, and as the game progresses, I'm sure they'll be able to enable it. But Giants right now, they're just waiting for those next big items. Rylai's has been finished for Djoko. Ruin is nice, big, beefy, and tanky. The Black Cleaver is finished up for Steeelback. And then it's those third items that will really make Giants feel comfortable enough to try and force fights. They have the Poppy flank as an option to force fights. They have a Tahm Kench ultimate to flank. They also have the Taliyah wall to cut their opposition off. A lot of options available, if not in the traditional sense of let's have our front line run straight at the enemy.
Good options, been used well so far. H2k kind of forced a group in this mid lane, fighting for that mid lane control as we get closer to Baron being the kind of the focus of both teams, fighting for mid priority. However, both teams have pretty good vision around the pit, so it seems like neither team getting a greater advantage there. Selfie just throwing out the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, looking for picks. Djoko's doing the same with the seismic shove.
There is good poke coming out from H2k, from the Karma and the Zoe. So in this kind of a situation, you can see how Giants are just playing extremely far back, trying to not get chunked out, because that will make trying to play for Baron that much harder. And Giants, though, they're still relatively healthy for the time being. They now have their eyes set on the Baron. Do not face check that SirNukesAlot.
He's playing with fire a little bit there. Barely able to dodge Sleepy Trouble Bubble, now stuck there. Not able to walk to the bush until it fades, finally does. Good vision has been laid down. Looks like Trinket's used, and Giants running out of options. They will need to check that pit if H2k can keep up the pressure. Poppy splitting in the side lane, ready to threaten the tier 2. So if H2k aren't confident here, if they don't pull the trigger, they very well could lose an objective for nothing. However, Zoe starts to play with her food. The rest of H2k start to look for the Baron. Can they take it here?
Have they started it yet? Yes, they have.
Have to back off, though. Another blue trinket used.
Look at the bot wave, though. There's a big minion wave just clashing into the tower. All that farm will be wasted. H2k, they need to try and do something right now. They need to force play. Otherwise, Giants is going to just gain too much off the back of it.
And the wall used to give vision. They've separated that fight for now. SirNukesAlot has been isolated, will get knocked up, but Poppy's on the backside. Ruin looking to push Zoe away. And the rest of Giants just heading mid lane. They've got priority there. Vedius. Back and forth. Azir could be in trouble now. Fear comes out. Spell shield, the flat forward. Sjokz not getting anything. Turn and burn. Not at all what you want to see. Nocturne, the one who should have been scared in that exchange. The rest of H2k doing what they can to keep the pressure going, but Giants just happy to back off with the pick, not looking to overcommit. Sheriff, though, still hungry for a bit of blood as he speeds forward. Selfie, ooh, wanted to go through the terrain there, but just short.
You've got to respect how squishy you are as a Nocturne. He wanted to get the fear off onto Betsy, but even if he landed it, who's going to follow up on that? Everyone was out of range, the Ornn ulti was unavailable, and he ends up giving away his life. Now, the bright side is, because the amount of poke that Selfie and Sheriff were able to land onto the Giants squad, H2k still secured themselves a tower. So tower for kill, still a worthy trade in favor of H2k. They can head back towards the Baron and grab themselves the scuttle, maintain a bit of vision control, and then reset. But taking those kind of risks, Sjokz, especially when Betsy had cleanse, you cannot afford to be doing that.
And you know, you look at this team and you look at this lineup, especially when you look back at this play, you can see kind of some of the issues here. Still opting to commit, though, in the end. You got to respect Giants for surviving as well as they did.
So they knew that they had priority in mid, and they just wanted to take this tower. Betsy was like, all right, I'll get the last hit then. And then he thought, oh, I've got plenty of abilities to just get out of this. And I have a Tahm Kench. Oh, yeah. Nocturne then realizes, wait, he has a Tahm Kench, and he has Cleanse, and he has Flash.
In that awkward moment when you right-click the Azir and you flash, Azir no longer becomes an eligible target, and your character stops moving completely, lining you up perfectly for the Poppy wall slam.
And Giants is just like, okay, do you know how I deal with nightmares? By smashing them in the face.
Punch him in the face.
Wake up, punch him, be like, no, it's scary today.
And Vedius, I want to look back at like the playoffs because H2k were actually so close to taking down Vitality. But when we look, it was some of these small individual missteps that cost them, because you can see, start of the split, abysmal. But they turned it around. They did definitely turn it around as we move further, and we thought the momentum might keep going into playoffs. However, they still faltered in the end.
Yes, they certainly did. It was all 5 games. A couple of individual players not having the best performances of their lives. Ironically, I do believe it was a couple of plays by Sjokz.
Yeah, leaping in on Zach when he didn't need to. And the person who really stepped up, who unfortunately wasn't able to go farther, was Sheriff. And now he's not in a position to carry the game. Karma, very strong, but still feels like it needs another damage threat before this champion can actually be enough to carry a team through late game.
Well, let's see how the game progresses from here. Giants sit on a pretty healthy gold lead. Sjokz is still kind of expected to be the big carry, but H2k do still have a lot of these poke options. And I think an ideal world for H2k is they hang around Baron. They throw a lot of poke out. Giants members get pretty low. Sjokz finds a pick off. They have a numbers advantage. And then because of all the damage Giants have taken, H2k can then take a free Baron. Giants, on the other hand, are just saying, well, we're happy to fight whenever you want. If you try to engage onto us, we can re-engage because we're now at 3 items. We feel really strong. And I feel like this could be the opportunity, but instead they're just sitting back. They're eating the poke. I guess they recognize they don't have priority top and they don't want to try and commit to a fight right now when there is pressure elsewhere on the map.
My concern, Vedius, is you describe this picture-perfect scenario, but it's like those heist movies, right? They always describe it perfectly. Something always goes wrong in the execution, but we'll see. Maybe this is H2k's chance. He's going to get knocked back, interrupted before he can send the ulti back to the team, but with his Ruin giving up his life, so much damage comes in from Sjokz. The shielding is there. Selfie still alive. Soraka doing what she can to heal it up, but they're putting themselves in that pinch. Can they punish? Sjokz using the ulti to split up the team. Betsy trying to run for his life, but they can't even see him. Tahm Kench can't save him in the end. H2k bringing it back.
And Giants just couldn't commit to the fight there. They were eating so much poke onto the backline, and this was the idea we were talking about. Giants were then split apart. They didn't have their front line to rely on. Sjokz saw the opportunity, and now they're starting the Baron.
But the damage threats, there aren't very many, Vedius. So this is a slow Baron, but Djoko, he's burning down. NukesAlot wants to save him, but he's still going to burn inside the belly of the Tahm. Kench still goes down in the end. They're trying to buy time. 6k health. The Baron is dropping. Steeelback is here. He wants to rain hell on this team. Can he do it, though? He's slowly getting chipped down. Smittyj not going to hesitate, trying to bully him out. Selfie's on the back line. SirNukesAlot is all on his lonesome. H2k still set to come out on top. Ruin a one-man army if he wants to bring this home, and it's just not going to happen. They've stopped the Baron, but for how long?
Betsy will be alive in 10 seconds, but he's not going to be close to this Baron. H2k is still getting split apart, and Sheriff wants to go back to base to be able to TP back in. You expect this to be the Baron, but Ruin is doing everything he can to stop it.
What can he do? Starting to heal up, silence, caught out, going to get knocked up. The chain CC is there, slowly but surely getting chipped down. And here comes Nocturne. Sorry, can't displace that one. Gets right on top of the Poppy. Stark gonna close it out. Buys time though. Betsy is here.
He's now here. Taliyah is alive again.
I'm gonna safely say this is the longest Baron attempt. Oh!
And Giants stop the Baron.
Yeah, golf clap. Golf clap. Good job, Giants. Dude, you had to throw a lot of bodies at that problem, but you made it work.
It was like lemmings running off a cliff, just being like, no, I will stop it. I will stop it. They find it. Now they're going to start it. They still have the bodies. H2k have taken a lot of damage. They want a base.
It's medieval warfare at its finest, Vedius. Just throw bodies at the problem. The Giants might just be able to turn this around. They're going to be able to take down Smittyj. If Sheriff falls too, it could be their Baron. But H2Ks are the ones returning to the pit.
But now it's H2k saying, oh, now we can throw bodies at the problem. A TP in from Smittyj, a 1 versus 4. He thinks that he can stop it, but he ends up giving away his life. By the way, guys, Baron does less damage. But
it turns out champions do the same. So if you're trying to take the Baron against other champions, it's still difficult.
It really hurts. It's like so annoying, you know? Trying to go for a cup of tea.
And they've taken a break. This is a gentleman's war, Vedius. They're like, okay, guys, we need a breather.
Wait, what bot lane? Whoa, Giants have this huge wave that's not being picked up by anyone. That's a flash over the wall from NukesAlot.
Pick someone up and then flash. Okay.
And Ruin just, okay, I believe he must have been spotted. They know this is going on. The pings are going down. Here we go.
Sjokz has smite, 6k and dropping. Sjokz, ulti goes into the pit, cannot get it. Djoko securing it for a team. After thousands of years, the Baron finally dies. And Giants walk away victorious in that exchange.
That was one of the worst Barons I've ever seen. It was so bad. All right, anyway, Giants somehow anticlimactically walk away with the Baron objective. They now sit on the gold lead. The game is still very close. These fights have been very back and forth. One of the big issues for Giants has been really committing to a fight and stopping this poke from being obnoxious before then Sjokz can then come in and find a pick. So what Giants want to do is they want to try and use this Baron now to set up a siege, but it's always going to be difficult with the amount of wave clear and poke that H2k do have available to them.
Vedi, I'm sorry, is it wrong that I just want to see another Baron?
Bring back Baron.
All right, folks, 2k gold lead, 3 Mountain Drakes up. Baron buff going to make it very easy to break down these towers if Giants get the opportunity. And lo and behold, look at that. They have a fantastic comp for sieging. They have an Azir, they have a Taliyah. Yes, Lucian is a bit short range, but incredibly hard to approach this Giants lineup. Good wave clear, though, on the side of H2k may just be enough. The Sheriff works towards that death cap. Selfie already has his.
Betsy is really strong, by the way. He's working towards the death cap. You know, he talks a little bit about some of these items that have been completed. Death cap's completed kind of everywhere on the side of H2k, but good poke once again coming out from Selfie, and this is part of the issue the Giants are having. Every time they try to siege, they're eating a lot of harassment. They can't really poke themselves because the Soraka is just healing H2k up. They need to be playing on multiple lanes, and right now they're just getting poked out in the middle lane.
Poke going back, but Promisq getting lower. Unfortunately, he's so close to the base. He has nice the Soraka passive.
Yeah, this is really good.
Oh, Smittyj going to break the wall so they can get on him. They're going to break one. Steeelback does leap forward, takes so much damage back, trying to Cole. Get eaten up, taken back. This is going to be enough. Silence goes down to try to protect. Sjokz looking for an opportunity to go into the back line. Random Azir ult trying to predict the ulti back. It is going to be ult traded for ulti in the end.
The reason why that Azir was actually good was because while Sjokz can go through it, because he's unstoppable, the problem is the rest of the team would not be able to follow. You'll note as well that the Taliyah threw her E out, and that's because you dash through the damage, so you end up being chunked out before you even reach your target. Giants melt through this Elder Drake. They already had 3 mountains before, and now they should have prime control over the map. They secured themselves one inhibitor tower down in the bottom lane. Really nice use of the Taliyah wall to kind of zone H2k away so their wave clear couldn't get anywhere near it. And this has been a very back and forth game.
Absolutely has. I think we have to say Giants very much in control for the vast majority. The mid game, though, H2k finally starting to show up, finally starting to fight back. Sadly, when it came to the 1,000-year Baron, eventually it was Giants who won out. And now it's pretty easy for them to just continue forward. Talk about 4.5 Mountain Drakes, or the equivalent of, with this buff. And if they're left alone for 2 seconds on a tower, they will most likely kill it.
I like how you call it the 1,000-year Baron. Like, scriptures will be written, hieroglyphs into the wall.
We will look back at this Baron, and we will be reminded, don't do it like that. Not worth.
Learn from our forefathers how the Baron was taken.
We'll find out if history repeats itself as we get later in the game.
Yeah, this is only the first split. We've still got a whole split of Barons to go, my friend. But Giants, they're feeling good. They still have the Elder up. Level 18 Ruin is grouping up with his teammates as Son just comes out because he would have died. That was his actual
using
flash.
his real flash.
Yes.
Potentially questionable. They are trying to defend this tier 2, though. And really, Baron, fading away, going to be much harder for Giants to approach this as the wave clear is significant on the side of H2k. Really stepping forward, though. There's the wall to split the team up. They're speeding out. It does mean they have to give that up. Taliyah ult traded, though, so unlikely that we'll see a siege on the inhibitor tower as well. And Ruin overstaying, but they just don't have any damage to hit this tank. No hyper carry on that lineup. It means that Poppy can kind of just walk wherever she wants to.
So look at the bot lane, look at the mids. H2k have 2 big waves that are stacking towards Giants, and they have to catch them. It would be a massive waste of gold and experience if they didn't. Interestingly, Steeelback went for the GA third. Still doesn't have his Essence Reaver completed. Like, that's really what makes Lucian really good right now. He is so mobile. He has so much damage. He's like Raz on the dance floor. This guy just moves everywhere. He is just super, super mobile, and he is so fun to watch. And it's interesting that Steeelback went for this slightly different itemization. I guess he is scared of the Nocturne one-shot, and he recognizes he is a big damage dealer.
And I think when you look at it, might want a little bit more survivability, knows that he is going to out-damage most of the people on the H2k lineup if he gets enough time, as long as he survives the initial burst of the Karma Q, of the Zoe Paddle Star, of the Nocturne ultimate. So may just want to live, but you're right. Not the Essence Reaver we've seen in solo queue, not going to get to reset his cooldowns endlessly during the duration of that Essence Slayer.
So, Baron will be up in 2 minutes. Your wish will be granted, Drakos. Will they learn their lessons from their forefathers? As a lot of items have come through, gold starting to mean less and less as we kind of hit that final item spike for a lot of individuals. Now Ruin going in for the engage.
Taliyah wall, Selfie is going to make it over. Smittyj can break the wall and will open a path for the team to escape. Sjokz, you can see, eyeing his opportunities, looking. There goes the ulti, immediately going into Betsy. Not going to be enough. Fantastic play from the team. Not using the spell shield to make sure he could get onto the back line. Does get pushed back. Fantastic timing to stop it, but still the Lucian is knocked up. The tank here item still going to keep him alive for now. Locked up is Ruin. Still going to live, though. Still walking away. Not enough damage on the H2k lineup. Selfie wants someone, and he's going to get it. Betsy now running for his life. Baron right around the corner, and it is H2k in control of the game at this moment.
So you can see that in really drawn-out fights, H2k are actually in a much better position, largely because of their poke, but also the sustain. The moment Giants are forced to retreat is when H2k are in the prime position to win the fights. They are now the ones sieging onto this inhibitor tower, and they should be able to secure the first inhibitor of the game.
And we talked so much in this game about execution. Right now, it's H2k out executing, playing their comp beautifully, making this Karma match the scaling of so many late game threats, using the shielding and the healing beautifully, and turning this one back in their favor, even if it means taking 30 seconds to kill a Poppy in a drawn-out fight. They are winning in those skirmishes. And now, oh, they can't. This is the European special. Don't go around that corner.
SirNukesAlot has no flash. No, they're not going to commit to it. They're just
you know if that Sleepy Trouble bubble hit that Betsy was dead.
Yeah, he certainly was. Now, there's a big minion wave again in the bot. Someone has to go catch this. Smittyj will likely be the candidate as he has his teleport up and available. The Baron is going to spawn soon. Little vision has been invested from H2k around that objective. So Giants will look to take advantage of that as they push out mid. Likely will push out top and then just start clearing out vision in the river. Very exciting game so far. We've had a lot of interesting fights. A couple of cool kills. A lot of globals being used. Now, the Baron, will it just be rushed down? With an Azir that's lane to the game, this objective will die very, very quickly.
See what they can do. Sheriff moving forward with confidence. The shields that he has, the damage he has is massive.
Already used from Smittyj.
They're starting to split up. You have to remember, they have triple mount. This is just going to die if they don't get in there. Ulti comes in, and another one drops. Much cleaner Baron this time around. Giants, though, just completely uncontested here. H2k, I'm not sure what was going through the comms there, but not at all what they wanted.
An element of irony when Nocturne uses his ultimate, and he's the one that can't see to get into the Baron pit. Very quickly secured, much cleaner than the Baron that we saw earlier on in this game. And now it is Giants looking to re-siege onto the H2k base.
Maybe there's an opportunity. They have a wave pushing on the top side of the map. That tier 2 is a little bit low. If they can win a fight here, they could swing it back, open up another
inhibitor. It surprised me the Giants just don't go bot. There's a huge wave there, and there's an exposed inhibitor that they could likely just guarantee for themselves. But now in mid lane, they have to deal with all this poke and pick potential that could really stymie their siege.
And they're just using a single member with the Baron buff to threaten there. They know that Zoe can't clear the wave safely, trying to split it into a 4v4. Smittyj dashes out, but has to go through all of the unraveled earth, and access to the tower means starts to get chunked down very, very quickly. Paddlestar Self is going to want to leap forward to take this one down. Will manage to kill it. Good news for Sheriff and Selfies that they can burst through the siege minions. That's a golden Taliyah. Ooh, God, and he's out.
Yeah, good pick there, and now the fight.
Immediate Nocturne follow-up. Poppy set to fall. Terrified means Nocturne gets that movement speed steroid. They're going to keep chaining the CC together, but meanwhile, the rest of Giants focused on the mid lane, splitting them apart. Can they get the follow-up fight as well? This could just turn against them. An inhibitor has fallen, but H2k do manage to grab 2 kills. Selfie, just go for the play.
Look in the top lane, though. There's no teleports. All H2k want to do is stop the backs. They will fail to stop Steeelback, but those are some long death timers. What can H2k off the back of that? Elder Drake will be spawning soon, so they'll be able to get ahead on the play. But the members of Giants will be alive. They have the Tahm Kench ultimate to potentially bring Ruin or Djoko to the fight. This game is still up in the air. Inhibitor still gained in favor of Giants.
Yeah, you can check out #QuickStats. Someone put Trevor in charge of stats today. So if anything seems wrong or dumb, flame him. Like
He stole my joke. Longest game of EU LCS Summer. Already been made, Trevor.
And look, Elder Dragon right around the corner. The infamous second Elder Dragon. A potential option for Giants. It would be disgustingly powerful. However, there is decent vision control on the bottom side of the map for H2k, a Scuttle Crab there, as well as a lot of control wards. And they're going to have to take this one away because still Triple Mountain, the actual dream when it comes to taking these late game objectives. And they still have a Baron buff to back them up. 58 seconds left, only 20 seconds left on the Elder spawn, so you have to assume priority is going to be in the favor of Giants.
Now, we do have to also mention that Koobs, the self-proclaimed late game king,
True.
has successfully gotten Giants to the late game.
That's true.
So now this is the moment where his coaching will come into fruition. Will they successfully outmaneuver H2k in the late game, or will they falter?
Trying to burn through a little bit more. Betsy is off to the side. Ruin trying to find the flank is going to lock up multiple members. Shutting the Karma out of the fight for now. Selfie trying to pick off Djoko. So much damage traded back. Immediately the heals are coming in. Redemption. H2k just looking to reset the fight, and in goes the Nocturne by Djoko. Sjokz now running, immediate flash out. Jungler has been picked off, sets up for that Elder Dragon if H2k want to take it, but they have to respect the potential for the turn from Giants.
The thing is, they can just have Nocturne, maybe a Soraka duel it. They don't need all the members, so Selfie can just keep doing this.
Selfie needs to pull back, has all the healing. It's so hard to kill him. Smittyj looking for the knock-up. The silence is there. Betsy has to step forward to make his way out of that one, but he's slowly chipping away at the health bars. The longer this fight goes, the better H2k's team comps are. The healing from Soraka, the shielding for Karma just gaining more and more value when they cannot burst down these targets. The Drake falling. They have a jungler. There's no way this should be taken away, but is it possible? Can Giants do it? 3K and dropping. They need to kill Sjokz or they need to take this dragon. That's a drowsy Azir. The cleanse already burned. 1800 is going to get taken down. Elder Dragon now backing them up. A bit more damage. Out comes the Ornn ulti. Steeelback can't dash away from that one, but he will flash out. Ulti comes in, looking for one more. GIA now proc. Sjokz backing off. The rest of the team is there. The shielding is too much. The game now paused as H2k definitely set to take that fight.
Woo! Big team fight win in the side of H2k. And we unfortunately have a pause. Hopefully there are no severe issues. We will update you guys as soon as we know what the issue is. It does look like the Giants were the ones to throw out the pause. So, whoa, what a back and forth game. 45 minutes in, Drakos. The gold is so very close. We're pretty much at full build all across the board. Everyone is hitting that level 18 mark. And it's just proving to be harder and harder for H2k to really find these fights.
Well, Giants as well.
Giants, I mean, sorry.
Yeah,
Giants is the team.
The thing that, I was convinced for the longest time, Vedius, that Karma in the mid lane role, she scales insanely well in terms of the shielding and the damage. She scales incredibly in terms of what she can provide in these fights. But I just was convinced that H2k wouldn't have enough damage, the shielding wouldn't be enough, and the damage starts from Giants would overwhelm them. But when Giants aren't coordinating and when they're not picking off members, you can see that no one on H2k is killable if they spread out their cooldowns.
Yeah.
If they don't burst one person, they can't kill anyone.
I think that's what we kind of realized once we saw that big mid lane fight from the side of H2k, or around the Baron rather, where the longer the fights go, the better it is for H2k because they have a lot of poke available. Karma and Zoe are just so good at chipping your health bars down gradually. There's not enough sustain on the side of Giants, which means that you're just getting lower and lower until Sjokz can finally find their ulti to pick you off. He found it onto Djoko just now, and immediately they then are able to turn towards the Elder Drake.
And now, right as we pause, he finds another one onto Steeelback, and he goes in. And the thing is that these fights are going so long that we're seeing second ultis coming in from Nocturne. We're seeing second ultis going in. And I guess it's not one fight, but like a longer skirmish or objective contest.
Exactly.
Where Nocturne and Ornn both get to ult twice in a fight.
Yeah. And that's pretty devastating. And the thing is for Giants is we're yet to really see them utilize something like a Ruin flank. We haven't seen SirNukesAlot do what he did in the laning phase, which is bring a target in from behind and then try and set up a play like that, try and burst a target down. Like they kind of lack the engage that H2k have so much available.
Very true. And I think now we should just take a look back at that most recent fight that led into this pause, talk a little bit about how these compositions function, what they're looking to do, how this actually executed with a more visual, more immediate example as we look at this replay shortly.
So, as we're going to bring it up on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, let's look back at this fight here in the middle lane where, I mean, the key player here is Selfie. He gets a good sleep down onto Djoko and then chunks him out immediately. Once Sjokz has been healed up after taking a lot of damage, he's like, okay, well, my range is insanely long. I can quickly get this pick. I have flash to get out. And then they're like, okay, this is great for us. We've now found the one kill that we need. And then you just use the Zoe and the Karma to just zone the members away. You can just see they're hanging around. Oh, look, I've just been stunned against the wall. Shield, 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 shield. And then he's immediately just able to get out of this situation. And it all comes down to a lack of really hard engage from the side of Giants. They're just allowing these drawn-out fights to work out in favor of H2k.
Working out very nicely. You saw a split call there at the start. Can't decide between which target they want. Ruin finds a great flank onto the weak backline, but no one can get there. Still too much disruption as Smittyj really shuts down the options to get into that back line. And honestly, at this point, if you can't hit that Karma and that Soraka, you just see what happens in these fights. No one is losing health on the side of H2k.
Yeah, exactly. Soraka being one of the big reasons for that. And then look, you talked about the ultis being able to come back off cooldown. It happened right there. And now we're keeping our eyes on Steeelback. He gets burnt down with the Nocturne ultimate that, as you mentioned, came up for a second time. And then the pause did come through. So it was overall a well-played fight from H2k. You can see how challenging this composition is to make work. And I feel like against a slightly more active earlier game composition, it wouldn't have found the same level of success because it's now working because we're getting to that late game point. But it's one of those things where it's like maybe they prepared for a late game strategy because they knew Giants, funnily enough, if their coach is titled as the late game king.
And tells everyone in the world that he is the late game king.
Maybe they come in with the strategy like,
okay, guys, we need to be ready for late game. Yeah.
Maybe. We obviously don't know the minds of the players. Maybe we can find out in an interview later on. But Giants definitely drafted very much towards team fighting, a strategy that they went for last split, one where we kind of saw some early activity from Djoko. I really love the proactivity from SirNukesAlot, the way in which he utilized the Tahm Kench ultimate to move around the map and bring other members with him. And they were able to find a couple kills. They were the ones in control of the speed of the game very early on. And unfortunately, outside of that, they weren't able to find a replication of that.
All right, so as an update on the pause, Steeelback has reported performance issue on his PC during that team fight. Now, league officials have reviewed the replay footage from his PC and have determined that there was no issues, so players will be readying up to get back into game and will continue at the point of the pause. So,
looks like that we will be jumping back into game. Just to recap, Steeelback is currently in his GIA animation, and there are 5 angry members of H2k looking for his head.
Now he's running, and he's going to get taken down. As Selfie manages to grab that one, Ruin will knock him down under the tower, and we'll get a kill back, courtesy of that Sun Disc. So at least
look at the base, look at the base!
Oh, no! This is how it's going to end!
Betsy!
Buying time!
Oh my god, he's going to do it!
He's going to do it! The game is going down! Are you kidding me? Giants! Late game king, baby! Call it cheese, call it what you want! But that's a win in the end.
What the hell just happened?
We were paused.
Betsy just ran for the base.
That TP was probably happening during the pause.
He doesn't even have TP. He just ran.
He just ran?
He literally just jogged his little bird legs.
Oh,
he was like, I see the base of my eyes. Look at the happiness on their faces. Oh my god.
And honestly, hashtag we take those. Like, good job, Giants. I don't think either team is going to walk away from this game like, you know what, that was a clean performance, that was beautiful. But Giants walk away with a win, and you know what, that's all that matters.
Wow. Okay, credit to Betsy, 19,000 gold, 6-1-1, the carry of the game. Sure, they couldn't find the late game fights that they really wanted, but they found the Nexus, and that's all that matters. Woo! What a day! What a day!
We've only had 2 games, but this is by far the weirdest game. This is weirder than the Heimerdinger Fiddlestick spot. Such an odd game. Fantastic confidence there from Betsy in the end to just, hey, run it down mid, grab that Nexus. Turns out that's how you win the game. And
whoo! So, I mean, yes, we can say that there are many points of criticism for both teams, but the decision-making from Betsy at the very end there, the fact that he was so consistent in these team fights, great performance from Betsy overall, and he took a bit of a gamble. He picked an Azir, which is off-meta given what we've been seeing all across the world. And we did not think that they would be able to get to late game. We did not think that Betsy would put into a position where he could try and carry on the Azir, and, well, he did it.
Not in a team fight, but why don't we take a look back at that heroic moment. This replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
So I just hope we have a camera just on Betsy for the whole process, because remember, we just come out of a pause. So, right, so this was the fight, okay? And keep your eyes on Betsy. He's like, okay, I'm out. I'm running through. I'm hiding in, well, it's dark for him, but he doesn't care. He's going to keep running. They recognize, okay, we're just going to chase for kills. Keep your eyes on the minimap. He dashes over, and the wave clear. Late game Azir, so much damage. You have 2 super minions off the back of this as well, and it's too late. By the time they realize, Giants are just saying, stop the backs, stop the backs, stop the backs. Remember now, also, AP mages had their damage dealt to towers buffed this recently. Wow, what an ending. Props to Betsy, carrying his team to a first win of the split.
That's not even like 8-11. I have no idea what to say about that moment.
That was
Vedius, beautiful from Betsy. Big moment of confidence. You'll notice that he walked across a ward. So Giants are, or rather H2k are so tunneled, so focused that they are just not going to notice it in the end. Well, this time, Ruin, Betsy, and SirNukesAlot are your option for player of the game. Betsy. So head over to Twitter at LO Esports and vote for your favorite. Don't want to influence it, but I feel like you gotta give it to the Azir, Betty.
You kind of have to.
All right, well, after missing playoffs in spring, Sjokz are bringing in some amazing manpower for their game against Unicorns of Love. More on that after the break. Selfie buying a bit of time. Ruin's not going to have it, though. He knows he's tanky enough. Steeelback is there as well. He wants to get somebody, but suddenly the Zoe's gone. He has to flash out to safety. He's not getting anything, but Ruin will grab the kill. Betsy wants to make the play.
Nice. IB. I stun kill Ornn. Go, play slow.
Shutting the Karma out of the fight for now. Selfie trying to pick off Djoko. So much damage traded back. Immediately the heals are coming in. Redemption. H2k just looking to reset the fight, and in goes the Nocturne by Djoko. Sjokz now running immediate flash out. Jungler has been picked off. Sets up for that Elder Dragon if H2k want to take it in disc. So
Oh, look at the base, look at the base.
Oh no. This is how it's going to end. Betsy buying time.
Oh my god, he's going to do it.
He's going to do it. The game is going to end. Are you kidding me? Giants, late game king, baby. Call it cheese, call it what you want. But that's a win in the end.